So John, what is the biggest challenge that you face, you being a CEO at very young age, and how did you overcome?
It's a very interesting question. So I guess if I can point out broadly three things, if I could say, is first thing that I would address is a good word that I can use at this point in time is overcoming adrenaline. Being very young, what happens is you are driven by emotions. So joy, sadness, anger, all these emotions come in very hard. So since you are on this road of very complex journey, you're on a path which gives you more failures than successes. There's more negative talk than positivity. There's more hardship than something like you would say it's not a bed of roses. It's not a pleasure cruise. It gets tough. So when you're young, one of the important things for you to kind of survive being a CEO is being able to master these emotions, because most of the times every day is a challenge. So when these challenges come, how are you reciprocating towards everyday emotions in your life? So when there's a failure, if you cannot consistently push yourself forward, then I guess being CEO doesn't make sense. So I guess one of the first challenges for a young entrepreneur or a CEO or anyone who's a startup founder is controlling and mastering his emotions, because your brain has to function than your heart, because your heart will tell give up. What I personally believe is there's this rule that Sadhguru says, one of the interesting things that I've heard. He says, I don't give the privilege to someone else to make me feel a certain way. Right. So he says, I don't give the other person the privilege or a situation the privilege to make me feel a certain way. So no matter how tough the situation would be, no matter whatever happens around you, don't give that noise to kind of affect your mind. So straight true to your goal, straight true towards your vision. So every day when you wake up, ask yourself, why am I alive today? What's my goal? So what am I chasing? What am I conquering? So I developed this self-engineering, tool where I always ask myself, no matter what the situation that I'm currently in, what is my goal actually? So when I see the bigger vision, what is in front of me looks small. That's one thing how I fight the first challenge that I told you. And the second challenge is what happens mostly at a very young age is people kind of are driven by the process cycle. When you want to understand a corporate process cycle, there are certain stages of how a company functions. But what people usually do is they are caught up in that process, but forget what skills they require to kind of execute that process. So at a very young age, one challenge that is consistent in every young entrepreneur or a CEO is, what skills do you require to operate on a day-to-day basis? Because being CEO is not a joke. There are so many people, there is so much that happens around you, and the decisions that you make affect a lot of things. It can affect your journey, it can affect the finances, it can affect the growth of your company. So your decisions have to be wise. For you to be wise, you need certain understanding of how to operate. So what people do is they immediately get into the shoes of being a CEO, but forget what skills are required for you to function like a CEO. So one of the first things that I've done before starting my job of being a CEO is to first acquire the skills that are required. So today, if I know that I have to manage 100 people, I should know how to be a good leader than a boss. So tomorrow I have to make good decisions in terms of my finances. First, I should know how to manage finances when they're coming into the company. Tomorrow, if I have to know how to crack a deal, I should know how to sell my idea. I should know how to talk to people. I should have good communication skills. All this comes from reading, observing information which is out there, understanding what are the skills and the trends, and always catching up with the pace of the market. One of the things that I always tell someone is, irrespective of what age group you are, take inspiration from a mother. Take an example like, ladyfinger or any curry. Your mom will sell it to you, telling some other story. So moms are the best salesmen. So every businessman also should be a salesperson. Every CEO have to be a salesperson. You need to sell your idea. At the end of the day, whatever your service is, whatever your product is, you're selling that idea. So know what skills are required, because most of the problems that I've seen in the younger generation is, they have a great idea, they have a great product, but they fail in terms of convincing the other person on what's that USP, why should you own that product, or why is your service special. Is because they directly jump into making the product but forget what skills are required. So the second challenge for young founders, CEOs, and startup executive people is to kind of understand what skills are required for you to get into that game and playing that game, know what it takes, and then acquire your skills. So I would say these two things are the broad challenges that were there. And for the first one, I develop a inner engineering, framework on how I see a bigger vision and forget what is in front of me. In the second way, always be open for learning. Observe, don't pass time on YouTube, but see something which can educate you. Always be up for, because today, every day when I wake up, there are about 20 newsletters that come on my email. First thing, I don't check what my clients send. I don't check the emails that my clients send. I first read my newsletters, because each newsletter has some information about the market. So the second way, how can you solve the second challenge is always be open to learn from wherever resource, from wherever avenue it is. Always be open to learn so that you can catch up the right skills for you to operate better.
For more interesting videos, please like, share and subscribe to Pep Talks.